Have you ever felt that after you started drawing closer to God, some people simply distanced themselves from you? Old friendships changed. Conversations lost their meaning. Certain relationships that once seemed strong suddenly cooled, without argument, without a clear reason. The truth is that this is not a coincidence. It is spiritual. When God begins to awaken something within you, your presence changes, your energy changes, and with that, relationships also begin to go through a kind of invisible sieve. It's as if God starts to clear the path, removing what no longer accompanies your growth. It is not rejection, it is realignment. You are not becoming arrogant, you are changing seasons. And not everyone who walked with you up to this point is called for the next stretch. This hurts, I know, but it is also liberating. Sometimes you are trying to keep close those whom God has already removed from your path. And the more you try to hold on, the heavier it becomes. God is doing something within you that not everyone will understand. And that's okay. Your transformation is not to please others. It is to fulfill the purpose that heaven has written for your life. And if some have distanced themselves, it is because your light has begun to disturb the shadows they have not yet chosen to confront. Today, we will talk about the spiritual truth behind the changes in the relationships of the chosen ones. Not with complicated theories, but with wisdom from above. You will understand that distancing is not an end, but a sign. A sign that God is preparing you for something greater, purer, more aligned with who you truly are. Now, before we continue, if this word has already begun to touch on something inside you, subscribe to the channel. This is not just content, it is care, it is direction, it is nourishment for your spiritual journey. Here, you do not walk alone. Shall we move forward? Perhaps you have never stopped to think about this, but everything that exists carries energy. Your body, your voice, your thoughts, your emotions, everything vibrates. And relationships also function within this same reality. The people who come close to you do not appear by chance. They connect to your energy, to your inner frequency. Think with me. Have you noticed how there are people who drain you? That after a conversation, it seems like you are more tired than before? And there are also those people who, just by being near, already bring lightness, peace, and strength. This happens because our spirit perceives what the eyes do not see. The energy of people speaks, even when they are silent. When God begins to change something within you, your energy changes. You start to think differently, feel differently, see things with new eyes. And without realizing it, your frequency begins to rise. This does not make you better than anyone else, but it makes you different. And this difference starts to affect the connections around you. You don't need to fight with anyone or explain yourself. When your soul levels up, what no longer aligns simply drifts away. And what relates to you begins to draw closer. It is natural. It is not pride. It is alignment. God is organizing everything around you to take you further. Some relationships will weaken. Others will disappear out of nowhere. You will notice that certain topics no longer interest you. Certain behaviors irritate you more than before. This happens because your spirit is in another place. It no longer feeds on the same things as before. And what does not nourish you no longer makes sense to keep. This transition can be confusing. It may even give the impression that you are distancing yourself from people. But in reality, what is happening is that you are getting closer to yourself, to your essence, to your calling. And only those who can walk in that same direction will remain close. Sometimes you will feel nostalgic for how things were. You will remember friends, conversations, and laughter. But what you are building now is more lasting. God is bringing new people, connections aligned with your renewed heart. People who will add to you, not drain you. People who will pray with you, dream with you, grow with you. Do not force what no longer vibrates with you. Do not try to keep close to you those who no longer fit into your new season. This is not abandonment. It is obedience. It is spiritual sensitivity. When your frequency changes, it is a sign that God is preparing you for something new. And the new always begins with space. If today you feel that you are changing, that you are becoming quieter, more selective, more sensitive, do not be alarmed. This is part of the spiritual cleansing. The energy that God is placing in you will attract what is true, and it will repel what has already fulfilled its role. Trust this process. It is sacred. As you draw closer to God, you begin to notice that some things no longer touch you as they did before. The conversation changes, the gaze changes, the heart changes, and without intending to, you start to distance yourself from environments and people that seem normal, but now cause you a certain discomfort. This is spiritual. Those who live in peace can no longer tolerate living amidst confusion. Those who have learned to be grateful feel out of place among those who only complain. Those who have connected with the truth feel uncomfortable when surrounded by falsehood. This is not judgment, it is a difference in frequency. Your soul has changed seasons, and now it no longer tunes in to what vibrated low. People who vibrate at higher levels tend to value simple things, speak more calmly, and listen more than respond. They bring lightness, and even when facing problems, they have a faith that does not depend on circumstances. On the other hand, those who vibrate at a low frequency constantly feed fear, anger, envy, distrust. Nothing is ever good enough. Everything is a reason to criticize or mistrust. There is no war between these two realities, but there is a clash. And this clash causes disconnection. It is not you who is distancing yourself. It is the vibration that cannot sustain itself. The atmosphere changes, the environment changes, the conversation doesn't flow, and without explanation you realize that the bond can no longer be maintained. It's like trying to unite water with oil. They do not mix. Sometimes there is no fight, no argument, but still something breaks. And you find yourself wondering, have I changed too much? The answer is, yes, you have changed, but not for the worse. You changed because you grew. You changed because God is aligning your spirit with His purpose. And when the vibration rises, the connection changes. This process can cause confusion because you feel that you love those people, but you can no longer walk with them in the same way. It is a love that continues, but now needs to respect the distance. And that's okay. To love is not to hold. Sometimes, to love is also to let go, to release, to understand that each person is on their own timeline. God does not want you to think you are better than anyone, but He wants you to understand that not everyone will accompany your journey, and that is perfectly fine. There are people who will vibrate with you for a time and then take another path. And there are people who will only come into your life after you have gone through this change. You do not need to force any companionship. When there is a big difference in vibration, cohabitation begins to generate discomfort. You feel bad in places where you once felt good. And this is a sign that it is time to protect what God is doing inside of you, not out of pride, but out of obedience. Your peace is valuable. Your new frequency is the result of prayer, renunciation, and surrender. Do not trade that for convenience. Those who are meant to walk with you in this new season will arrive with lightness, truth, and maturity. And what no longer fits will drift away effortlessly. Everything that is aligned remains. What is not will dissolve. And that is liberating. Many chosen ones go through a kind of silent rejection. Nothing was said, no one fought, but the atmosphere changes. The person who was once close begins to distance themselves, avoids making eye contact, and seems uncomfortable. This can cause pain and confusion. But what is behind this is not always malice. It is spiritual. There is a phenomenon that few understand, but many experience. It is the spiritual mirror. When you begin to grow, heal, and align with God, your light increases, your presence changes, and this change begins to unsettle those who have not yet wanted to confront their own shadows. Your transformation reveals wounds that they try to hide. Your presence begins to show, without words, what in the other is still unbalanced. The way you speak with gentleness exposes the nervousness of those who only shout. Your dedication to God reveals the coldness of those who have turned away from Him. Your decision to forgive touches on the hurt that the other still nourishes. It is as if your light reveals the cracks in the other's heart. This is not your fault. You are not doing anything wrong. You are just being who God has called you to be. But even so, it will disturb. Not everyone can handle the truth that you carry. Not because you are forcing anything, but because, spiritually, what you live confronts those who are still standing in the same place. Some will try to belittle you. Others will avoid you. Some may even accuse you of having changed. And the truth is that you have changed. But their discomfort is not with your change itself. It is with the reflection it provokes. Your life has become a mirror, and not everyone is ready to see themselves completely. This kind of distancing has nothing to do with a lack of love. It has to do with frequency, with spiritual maturity, with inner confrontation. Those who have not yet faced their fears, their wounds, their habits, may feel exposed just by being near someone who has already started this process. The light illuminates, but not everyone is ready to see. Therefore, do not take the discomfort of others personally. Do not try to dim your light to make anyone feel better. What you carry is valuable. It was generated in prayer, in silence, in tears. You do not need to hide it. Just learn to discern where your presence is welcomed and where it will merely be used as a mirror. The chosen ones need to understand that the discomfort of others is not a sign of error. Many times, it is a sign that the light is shining brightly, and even though this causes distancing, it will also make room for more genuine, mature, and prepared connections. Those who need to distance themselves can go. Those who are meant to stay will remain. Continue being light, even if it disturbs, even if it frightens. You are not here to please, but to fulfill a calling. And this calling will often be silent. Your mere presence will already make a difference. Your change will already have an impact. And those with spiritual eyes will understand. Those without will still understand. In due time. There is a phase on the path of the chosen ones that few understand, the phase of solitude. Suddenly you realize that much around you has changed. People have distanced themselves. Some friendships have cooled, invitations have decreased, silence has increased, and the heart, even firmly anchored in God, feels the weight of emptiness. But this emptiness is not punishment, it is preparation. When God begins to elevate someone spiritually, the first thing He does is separate, not out of malice, but for protection. Sometimes the voice of God needs to be heard without noise, and for that, the clamor of human voices needs to diminish. In these moments, isolation becomes a fertile ground where heaven plants new things. It is in silence that God reveals what the noise was hiding. It is in the absence of companionship that you learn to depend on Him more deeply. Many times, while you were crying over the absence of people, God was taking care of your inner structure, strengthening your identity, healing your emotions, refining your mission. Solitude is not always a comfortable place, but it is sacred, because in it God aligns, heals, cleanses, and repositions. The old connections fade away not because you are bad or because they are bad, but because this new time requires new alliances. And until these alliances arrive, heaven keeps you in silence. This time may seem dry on the outside, but inside a lot is happening. God is cleaning your thoughts, showing you what you did not see before. He is teaching you to walk without depending so much on the approval of others. He is showing you that your worth does not depend on the number of people around you. It is common to think that something is wrong when everything feels lonely. But often, the opposite is true. When everything quiets down, it is a sign that something grand is being aligned. God never wastes silence. And when you go through this phase with an open heart, you will understand that it was a gift and not a loss. After this reconfiguration, God begins to send new connections. People who speak the same spiritual language, who add to your life, who pray with you, who walk in the same purpose. And you realize that the emptiness from before prepared space for something deeper. Not just any relationship, but covenant. Not superficial companionship, but presence with purpose. When you begin to free yourself from old patterns, many people around you may feel disturbed. Not because you have done something wrong, but because your freedom activates what is trapped within others. Your peace, your firmness, your clarity. All of this can be seen as a threat by those who still live in confusion and fear. The truth is that some people have gotten used to your old version. The one who stayed silent to keep the peace, who accepted everything to please, who annulled themselves to avoid hurting others. When you begin to position yourself, to say no when necessary, to live your truth, this causes discomfort in those who benefited from your submission. Many will not understand. They will call you distant, say that you have changed, that you have become cold or selfish. But what is happening, in fact, is that your spiritual evolution is revealing the limits that others have not yet faced. Your courage to break chains shows, without words, how much they are still trapped. This is not a reason for guilt. It is a sign of growth. You are not being harsh. You are being faithful to what God is doing within you. It is not coldness. It is maturity. It is not selfishness. It is identity. God is teaching you to stand firm with love, but without giving up who you are in Christ. Your freedom will scare those who live controlling. Your clarity will disturb those who live confused. Your truth may seem exaggerated to those who live hidden, but do not silence yourself. Do not hide. Stay firm on the journey. You are not responsible for others' reactions. You are responsible for being light. And light sometimes hurts the eyes of those who have stayed too long in the dark. Not every relationship is meant to last a lifetime. Some come to teach something, others to heal a pain. And there are those who appear as a bridge, taking you from one place to another on your spiritual journey. When the mission is fulfilled, the cycle ends, and this is not failure. It is purpose fulfilled. God works in cycles. Nature proves this. The sun rises and sets, the seasons change, the leaves fall and are reborn. In the same way, our relationships also have a beginning, middle, and end. When a connection no longer produces fruit, it may be that its time has passed. Recognizing this is a sign of spiritual maturity. Often, out of fear of loneliness or emotional attachment, We insist on maintaining ties that God has already ended. We continue to try to force conversations, meetings, and relationships. But what once flowed now stalls. What was once in common no longer exists. This does not mean that love has ended, but rather that the purpose has been fulfilled. It is essential to understand that some souls cross paths for a time. And within that time, there are important exchanges. There is growth, learning, and maturation. But when both have received what they needed, the connection loses its momentum. It is like a road that comes to an end. There is no longer a way to proceed together. And that's okay. The chosen ones need to learn to discern these moments. Forcing a continuity where God has already put an end only brings weariness. It is like trying to keep alive something that is already in the time of rest. It is not about discarding people, but about recognizing that God writes each chapter with wisdom, and He knows when it is time to turn the page. Ending a cycle with respect, honor, and truth is a sign of obedience to God's timing. There is no guilt in moving forward. There is peace when we understand that letting go is also an act of love. Love for oneself, love for others, and above all, love for God's will. Some goodbyes hurt, but they also liberate, because they make room for the new that is aligned with your current mission, with your restored identity, with your path of growth. God never takes away something without having something better prepared. But for the new to come, the old must be let go of wisely. Do not blame yourself for realizing that certain friendships no longer make sense. The end of a relationship is not always a sign of error. Sometimes it is just heaven saying, "Mission accomplished." Be thankful, release, and move on in peace. Your path continues, and new alliances will come at the right time, with people who speak the same language as your soul. After God changes something inside you, there is no way to go back to how it was before. Your vision changes, your sensitivity increases, and your spiritual frequency rises. And now, more than ever, you need to learn to protect this new level that the Lord is building in you. Because when your light increases, the responsibility to keep that light burning also increases. Protecting your frequency is caring for your energy. It is knowing that not every environment is safe for your soul. Not every conversation builds you up. Not every company strengthens you. And maintaining your peace has a cost. The cost of choosing more carefully where you step, with whom you walk, and what feeds your mind and heart. Establishing boundaries is one of the most effective ways to keep your frequency stable. And this has nothing to do with arrogance or coldness. It is maturity. You do not need to explain yourself every time you choose to say no. The no that protects your peace is a yes to your purpose. Do not allow yourself to get involved in situations that pull you back into patterns you have already overcome. Another important key is to cultivate habits that sustain this new vibration. Pray more than you complain. Be grateful more than you ask. Meditate on the Word instead of consuming content that confuses you. Be in environments that elevate, not deplete. Small daily actions create a strong foundation for you to remain firm on your new path. Do not worry about the empty spaces that remain after the disconnections. When you protect your frequency, God Himself takes care of sending new connections. But now, it will be different. They will be more mature relationships, more authentic, more profound. People who do not compete with you, but walk alongside you. Folks who pray together, dream together, and understand your calling. It is natural for this process to bring moments of doubt. Sometimes, you will ask yourself if you are being too harsh. You may feel the urge to go back out of need or nostalgia. But remember, your new frequency no longer fits with old environments. What once felt good to you now weighs you down. And this is a sign of growth. You do not need to live in war to protect your peace. You only need to be awake. Know who you are in God. Be aware of what you carry. And value everything that the Lord has already healed, restored, and revealed. The new version you are building needs to be guarded with care. You fought to get here. Do not give that up for little. The life of the chosen one, after awakening, will never be ordinary again. Because now you no longer walk by impulse, but by direction. You no longer live by what you feel, but by what you discern. And this difference transforms everything. The places you frequent, the topics you tolerate, the friendships you maintain, and even the dreams you pursue. Protecting your frequency is honoring what God is doing inside you. It is continuing to walk in truth, even if it means being alone for a time. It is choosing His presence, even if that means giving up some company. Those who are meant to walk with you in this new season will recognize your light. The rest will naturally drift away, and that is a blessing. If you have made it this far, know that this message was for you. Nothing that you are experiencing is in vain. Each distancing, each silence, each phase of solitude has a meaning. God is reorganizing your life from the inside out. He is preparing you to live something greater, more true, and more aligned with heaven. Now tell me here in the comments, what spoke to you the most in this content? Was there a specific part? Are you living this process of change and disconnection with some people? Do you feel this calling to protect your energy? Write what is in your heart. Sometimes your comment will be an answer for someone. And if this message helped you in any way, share it. There are many people going through this in silence. You are chosen. And this new path that God is opening for you is just the beginning. God bless you.